everyone? We are back with another episode of the Cowboys Fan versus the World podcast. It's your host with the most, Chris. I hope everyone's having a fantastic day today. Hope you all have having a fantastic week. I know I haven't. It's been a lot of hoopla going around. If you're a Dallas Cowboys fan, you know, all the way in Oxnard. Okay, I want to get this cleared. I did get a lot of crap for this, and I thought this was pretty funny. I did say in my TikTok, one of them, Oxford, not Oxnard. I completely butchered it, so my bad. And Cowboys fans were roasting me on the comments. It's Oxnard, not Oxford. My fault, okay? I completely apologize about that. I promise I'm a Cowboys fan. I absolutely promise. But I thought that was like the funniest thing that happened to me last week, aside of everything that wasn't funny. That was like one of the funniest deals, is that everyone just kept roasting me. So I apologize. I am completely sorry about that. Oxnard, not Oxford. Two different places. Come on, Chris, you're the host here. But we are back with another episode. So before we get started, just kind of some stuff coming up, just to kind of let you all know. So before I get started going into the Cowboys talk, so a lot of you know, or if you don't know, I'm a teacher and a coach outside of this podcast. Now, for a lot of people where I'm at, or wherever you're at, teacher, coach, whatever, whoever's listening to this, obviously, or if you have kids, obviously school year is coming up, so that is coming up real fast for teachers. I know we start reporting to school this upcoming week. As of this recording, it's Friday, so Monday I'll be having to report back to campus. Well, I've been having to report back to campus anyways, coaching duties and stuff, but I'll actually be like in campus. So here is my plan for the upcoming school year, because I know I was really bad about it last year, which is what I felt like would kind of stop the progression of this podcast and getting episodes out. I know it was so tough for me, just time management wise. I was not very good at it last year. I mean, I'm strong enough to admit that I wasn't good at time management. I felt like I had to put all my eggs in the teaching and my work, which is true, because that's what pays the bills. That's what allows me to upload and all this good stuff, you know, be able to afford pay for bills, afford food on the table, stuff like that. So that's definitely something that I'm going to try to work through this year. That's one of my goals for the podcast. I made a promise to myself and to others that I am going to try to keep up with the podcast. So I'm going to figure out a schedule on when this stuff is coming up, when I start recording. I believe, so I coach middle school and teach at middle school level. So I believe our games are early in the week. So what my plan is probably recording Thursday, because our games are either Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. It's one of the three. And record Thursday and have it out by Friday afternoonish. And then I'll still have, obviously, all the short forms. I think that one for short forms, so obviously whenever I go to TikTok and YouTube and all that, that one, I believe what I'll do is I'll have those posts up and ready for you guys. I mean, obviously I got to record them anyways before I send them out. So I may post one of them before the episode comes out. So that's kind of the direction I'm going to go, just because I want to get it all done before Sundays. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. But hopefully it'll work. I think that's kind of a decent plan, at least so that way I'm not burnt out. I already got an episode out for you guys to listen, and we can kind of keep this up. I want to keep this going. Definitely good things happening right now with the podcast. Loving the progression, so definitely I got to buckle down and, you know, get on the grind. So I'm very excited, but that's definitely the promise I did make to myself, and obviously the podcast is definitely still keeping up with those updates on the episodes. There might be a time where I miss a week, but I'm going to try my very hardest not to. That way, this podcast can keep going, weekly episodes, weekly post on Instagram, TikTok, all that good stuff. Make sure you guys are following me on social media, by the way. TikTok, Instagram, I'm on all of it. Make sure you follow. Hit the subscribe button on YouTube. If you're listening in on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Amazon Music, we're on all three. Make sure you guys if you guys want to catch up on any other episodes, make sure you go down there, give the podcast a listen. Definitely a lot of time and effort goes into it, and I'm very excited to try to at least see what I'm going to do this year. Like I said, time management's going to be key. Hopefully I can do it. I think I can. Just like I said, last year I wasn't super good at it. This year I'm going to be better. I'm going to try to be better at it, or I guess There is no try. There is only do and don't, do or do not. So I'm gonna make a strong effort to keep this deal rolling. So let's see how this goes. But all right, enough chitter chatter. Nobody wants to hear about my life. Stop making excuses, Chris. There's a main reason why we're all here. Let's talk about Dallas Cowboys. How about them Cowboys? Rolling right into Cowboys talk. All right, so first thing on Cowboys talk. Before I get into training camp, we gotta talk about what happened last week. Oh my God. Craziness, bitter war between Dak Prescott and owner Jerry Jones. If you guys did not see it, there was a press conference last week with Dak Prescott and Jerry Jones concerning the contract extension. They actually asked both of them because, I mean, everybody, if y'all know Jerry Jones, he loves to be on the camera. He loves to be in the spotlight. He's the owner of the Dallas Cowboys. You know the drill. And they actually, a reporter did ask them in person, hey, what's the deal looking like for the contract extension? What's going on? Obviously, neither party is going to give up a lot of information on it. But, wow, the freaking, I'm going to say this, the cojones on freaking Dak Prescott for basically calling out Jerry Jones. Like, that was insane. He basically called them out and is basically calling his bluff. I mean, let's be real about it and keep it 100 with you. It was calling him out. He's calling his bluff. So for the war that's happening right now with Dak and Jerry Jones, obviously it's about the contract extension. It's been the hottest topic of the entire offseason surrounding the Dallas Cowboys between him and CeeDee Lamb. Who's going to get the contract extension? How much is Dak going to get? Is he going to reset the market? I've already harped on my explanation. I've been called a number 4 writer for weeks now, so I'm not gonna get too much into deep why. I mean, if you guys really want to know, go check out the other previous episodes. I go into depth why I want Dak to get paid, or if not reset the market, at least get a contract extension. Obviously, the main point of it is just that I think we have a little bit more chances of being successful with Dak Prescott than trying to risk going into QB purgatory. Kind of like what may happen to some NFL teams, or like I said, absolute nut kicker is going to be Dak goes to another team and replicates the same amount of success he had in Dallas or more, and guess who ends up being who is actually the problem. So let's keep that in mind. Now, obviously, the biggest thing with the contract and all this stuff, and Jerry Jones kind of taking jabs at Dak, was about the Packers game, about the recent Packers game where we got our butts kicked by the Green Bay Packers. But, and that was kind of like Jerry Jones's main argument is, well, what happened in the game? Here's the deal. And when it got brought up in the press conference, and Dak literally said, I would love to be here. So that's already thing number 1. He wants to be in Dallas no matter what people have said about him. I know one of his brothers have admitted that he doesn't want him in Dallas anymore. He wants him to go somewhere else where he'll be more appreciated. And I do agree with that. I think that as Cowboys fans, and I guess used to the success from the Staubachs and the Troy Aikmans in the 90s, I mean, it's very hard to live up to those expectations, along with, trying to replicate the same success that the Dallas Cowboys are known for. I mean, that's why they're called the America's team. I mean, the dynasty, everything, trying to set up to be as successful as much as possible. But, and here's the deal. He explained that, I would love to be in Dallas. I want to be here, but other players who have been great have moved on from their teams. A couple of them they named was Peyton Manning, Tom Brady. Now, I'm not saying that Dak Prescott is on the level of Tom Brady or Peyton Manning. I mean, that's just very hard. Those are the 2 hardest quarterbacks you could probably compare yourself to. I mean, 2 of the greatest of, some of the greatest of all time to ever play. I mean, right there is already a bunch of Super Bowls right there between those 2 quarterbacks, so most of them Tom Brady's. But if you keep looking down it, and he said it, there have been a lot of great quarterbacks that have left and found more success, or the same amount of success. Like Tom Brady went to Tampa, won a Super Bowl. Peyton Manning left the Indianapolis Colts to the Broncos and won a Super Bowl before riding off into the sunset and calling it a career. So there have been instances of that. I mean, there's a bunch of examples of players that have done that and found either the same amount of success or even had more success being on another team. So with that being said, and he said this in front of Jerry Jones. Like, this was something that was documented. Like, you can look up a YouTube video and see him talking about this whole situation. That's where my thing, not a problem with Dak. I mean, I don't disagree with him. You're right. There have been quarterbacks that have done that. They've left and found more success, or they've been more, successful. Now, look at the other side of that coin. There have been quarterbacks that have left, and they were not as successful. I mean, Russell Wilson is the perfect example. He had a lot of success in Seattle, went down to Denver, and he didn't really find that much success. Now he's with Pittsburgh. By the way, we're going to get to Pittsburgh later on in the episode when we go around the NFL, but kind of sticking with Dak Prescott and the war with Jerry Jones, like, it's not something that's out of the question here, and nor is he incorrect about all that. Like, let's really think about this. If Dak is already saying in front of the media, that, yeah, I may leave. Basically, he said, I may leave after the season. Like, he is preparing to go in case Dallas doesn't want him back, in case Jerry Jones does not want to bring him back. That is a scary thing to think about because, listen, it's something I don't really hope that doesn't happen. Like I said, my biggest fear is we're going to go into purgatory and Dak ends up being as successful. I think a talk show talked about this, and they mentioned that what if Dak was on another team? We'd be saying he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league right now. If he replicate the same success with another team, like say the Titans, he was still going 12-5. He never had a losing record. He only had one bad season with turnovers. Last season, he was second in MVP voting with a Titans team. We would be saying he's better than Josh Allen right now. Let's be frank. The big difference between Josh and Dak is Josh turns the ball over more than Dak. I mean, you can look at the numbers between when Josh arrived with Dak. Josh Allen still averages more turnovers. I think actually, including playoffs with Dak Prescott there, or the same year Dak Prescott led the league in interceptions, when you include the playoffs, Josh Allen was actually the leader, would end up being the leader in interceptions, along with he actually led QBs in turnovers because he fumbles the ball. So, like I said, if he was on another team replicating the same thing, 12 wins, bunch of divisional titles, appearances in the playoffs, we would be saying, he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. He just sucks he's on a bad team. Like, that would be, he's making the most out of a bad team or a bad situation. Let's be frank. So, like, you can't discredit that from Dak. You can't take away his regular season success. Everyone likes to compare the postseason, which is exactly what Jerry Jones is doing, which I feel like kind of bringing that to light is really what his negotiating tactic is at this point. Is I don't want to give you resetting market money because cats like Jordan Love are beating the brakes off of you. But honestly, if you look at the game, what really killed them besides the turnovers was the defense. The defense still allowed Aaron Jones to run everywhere. Like, it wasn't really Jordan Love that beat him. Yes, it didn't help with Jordan Love, but Aaron Jones was the one that really set up the pass. I mean, why do you run the ball? To throw it. That's exactly how that works. Coaching football and just kind of using common sense on that notion. That's why they did it. They were able to take advantage of a defense that could not stop the run, and that's exactly what they did. And it just got out of hand real quick. It didn't. I admit that it did not help with Dak Prescott turning the ball over, but you still can't hold that over him because he still finished second in MVP voting. He was still the second place for MVP voting. The only other time he ever got that high in MVP voting was his rookie year in 2016 when he wasn't even thought of to start. It was supposed to be Tony Romo with Ezekiel Elliott at the helm with Dez Bryant and all of them. So that was something that was not expected. So when you think about over the last 8 years, and Jerry Jones's argument is, well, you can't win in the playoffs. He's getting you to the playoffs is my problem. At least he's getting you there. We could be, and like I said, I mean, Romo was there for a longer time than Dak Prescott was, and how many times did he win in the playoffs? And he re-signed him like it was nothing, because like I said, what happened when Romo did get hurt? When we went with freaking Brandon Weeden and Kyle Orton and a bunch of other quarterbacks, Kellen Moore was still the quarterback. Kellen Moore got thrown in there. Like, that was a thing too. So that's when Jerry said, you know what, we're better with Tony than we are without him. Like I said, QB purgatory. That was probably maybe where we were going to be heading. Or if he would have drafted Johnny Manziel, who knows what would have happened with that. That's kind of a scenario we'll never know. But sticking with Dak here, it's the same situation that we're in. And if Jerry Jones's whole idea is, well, you can't win in the playoffs. So we're going to trust Trey Lance to get us there? He can't. He barely lasted. He can't even last the whole season, let alone we're going to trust him to get us into the playoffs. So that is my deal with that argument, is that he's consistently got us into the playoffs. He only missed the playoffs 2 to 3 times. 3 if you count the year his ankle snapped. 2 other times is the only other time he never made it to the playoffs. Other times he's gotten there. Now, do I agree that the playoff that his level of play in the playoffs needs to get better? I've never disagreed with that. I think somebody asked me, like, well, what about in the playoffs? Are you okay with being mediocre in the playoffs? I said no. No team wants to sit there and say, I made the playoffs just to get my butt kicked by the 49ers, just to get my butt kicked by the Green Bay Packers. No, nobody says that unless you are literally a team that was not predicted to make the playoffs. Then it's like, okay, at least we made the playoffs. You know? I don't want that. Every fan in any team in the league wants to win the Super Bowl. I mean, even the Jets have hope that they are going to make the Super Bowl this year with Aaron Rodgers coming back. But, I mean, Jesus, who knows what's going on up there in the North. But you guys get my point here. But with Dak, he puts us in a position, Jerry, so you can sell out your stadium. So you can have playoff tickets, and he gives you a chance to, bring in all these Dallas Cowboys fans to beautiful AT&T Stadium. Like, let's be frank, And Dak does help, Dak makes some money. Like, let's be frank, he's making some money. I bet you after this year, if he doesn't come back, I bet you those 4 jerseys are going to go out the door real fast because, I mean, it's going to be the last time we're going to see Dak. And I hope not because, like I said, I wish the playoff level of play could increase, but it's not a guarantee, sometimes it's not how it's going to work. But would I want to see us in the playoffs and gives us a chance to beat the Eagles for the division? Yeah, he gives us the best chance. Look at his record against Jalen Hurts. He only ever lost once to Hurts. Hurts has only beaten him once. I believe he hasn't lost to the Commanders yet. Knock on wood, we keep it that way. And the Giants have only beaten him a handful of times. So, like, he can win the division. It's not a question of that. And he can obviously get us in a position to make the playoffs. So his argument of, well, what happened in the playoffs? We're in the playoffs. If you want any constellation here, and like Cam Newton said in his podcast, 4th and 1, and you look at the diagram with Dak and Patrick, he's like, if you look at the top 10 paid quarterbacks, most of them have not even had success in the playoffs. Some of them haven't even made the playoffs, and they're getting paid a lot of money. Like I said, Justin Herbert getting paid a lot of money, and he blew a 28-0 lead. Kyler Murray got his butt kicked in the playoffs. Like I said, realistically, if you look at the people that are on there, I don't know if Matthew Stafford's still on there, but I know Joe Burrow, Jalen Hurts, and Patrick Mahomes are the only 3 that have made the Super Bowl. They're the only 3 that have made the Super Bowl. Jared Goff was the other closest. If Matthew Stafford's still on the list, then he's number 4. They're the only 4 that have made it. In that list of 10, only 4 of those quarterbacks have made the Super Bowl or have had playoff success. So if you want to use that argument of, well, he don't have success, look at Lamar Jackson. He got paid a shit ton of money. Like, let's be frank. Like, that's a thing. He got paid. So he got paid. I mean, it was a fight, but he got paid. So, and Kirk Cousins doesn't have a lot of playoff success. I think he was another one on that list. Kirk Cousins, good old Perk Cousins down there in Atlanta now, doing the icy chain dance. Like, he doesn't have a lot of playoff success. He made the playoffs a lot, but he doesn't want a lot of playoff games. But yet, the Minnesota Vikings gave him a ton of money to stay there for a long time, and Atlanta just gave him a 4-year contract. So what's the argument? There's lesser quarterbacks that haven't even touched 2 games or 3 games into the playoffs. Some of them barely even made the playoffs, and they've been in the league for so many years. Some of them are veterans that haven't won any playoff games either that have gotten paid. Like, come on, like, what are we doing here? So that's why I don't like Jerry Jones's point of that. Now, like I said before, you can use that to determine the money value. I think that's a little bit of a more workable thing to say. I think that the amount that you want, okay, you haven't been successful in the playoffs, so I don't think you are worth resetting market money, but I think you do deserve an extension. So that's what if I was in that spot, that's what I would think, that would be me as an owner, as he gives us a good chance, so we have a consistent quarterback, who, by the way, is listed as a top 5 quarterback, even amongst his peers. He was ranked pretty high. So I think like what he was number 3 or number 4 in the top 100 players from quarterbacks. He's like 3 or 4. I think Josh Allen was in front of him, but he was still ahead of everybody else. But like look at it here. So if you look at Dak, he was amongst his peers. He was in the top 20 in the NFL by the NFL players. He's top 20 in the league. So obviously he's consistent. Him and Mike McCarthy have gone to the playoffs. Whether it's wild card or winning the division, he's won multiple division titles. So yes, he's done his job as a 4th round pick. We forget to touch that. He was picked 136. He wasn't a first rounder. Now it'd be different if he was like a first round pick. Then yeah, obviously I'm like, I don't know if I'd extend him because we wasted a number one, or not a number 1 pick, but we wasted the first round pick on him, and he's kind of underperformed. But he hasn't, and he stepped up when we needed him. He's been a good role model. He doesn't really cause a lot of problems. He likes to keep his cards close to the chest. He doesn't let anybody see, him being distraught, even his teammates. He understands that what's going on, but he doesn't let it be a distraction. Other quarterbacks, just to name one, like Kyler Murray made a big deal about his contract, and he literally held out and got hurt after getting paid a ton of money. So come on. Like, that's what my deal is with Jerry Jones and that whole argument. Like I said, you can use the playoff argument for the amount. That I truly believe. Jerry Jones can argue that, well, you haven't been successful in the playoffs, so I don't know about record-setting money. But at least, yeah, I would like to keep you as a Dallas Cowboy a little bit longer before, you're in the backside of your career. But you want 60 mil? That's a little bit of a tougher one. Because, then you could put up, Brock Purdy, who's the last pick, has been to the Super Bowl. Jared Goff got to the NFC Championship, and everybody thought that guy was going to go downhill. And then you can maybe make some arguments with some other players. Joe Burrow got paid a lot of money, but he made the Super Bowl despite having a very bad offensive line. Then I think you can make the argument there. But using the argument of, well, you don't win in the playoffs, for an extension, he gets to the playoffs. He's gotten to the playoffs. Let's remember that. He's gotten there. About 7 times he's got, let's see, 8 years minus 3. So 5 times he's been to the playoffs? He's won 2, something like that? So I know he's won 2 playoff games for sure. But like I said, that's why I don't really like that argument. Now, we're going to go back to Dak. Him mentioning that, it's a possibility. So it's not like 2020 when he was like, no, I want to be here. I want to be here. Now he's literally thinking about maybe leaving. That is something that is terrifying. Like, let's think about that. That is terrifying to know that he's actually content with possibly taking off. He is actually going to be okay with, all right, cool, I'm out of here. Then, toodles, bye-bye. Sayonara, hasta la vista. Like, that's the concern I have right there. Because he's actually cool with leaving. Like, that is something that is beyond, my level of comprehension right there. Is that he's actually willing to leave. I don't know if any of you ever seen like those cartoons where their mind just blows. Yeah, that was me when he actually said that. And the worst part of the problem is that Jerry Jones believes he has the leverage like it was back in the day. I don't remember who said this. I think it was Chad Ochocinco. He said that. He's like, it's not like back in the day where, owners had all the power. They're like, okay, go to another team. Go. See if the grass is greener on the other side. They're not dumb. These players are not like, oh, I need to stay here. They made my career. No, they know all their owners are going to pay them money. I mean, they're not like idiots. They have managers. They have agents. They have social media. They have content like this. If any Dallas Cowboys players watching this podcast, please hit me up. We'll talk. I promise. But like, that's the thing. Like, it's not something that's just, all right, cool. If I'm an owner back in the day, yeah, I could say, all right, cool. See if the grass is greener somewhere else. See if, like, oh, he's going to come crawling back because, we don't know who would offer him that kind of money. Now, in our digital age of social media and sports debate and all this other stuff and topics and insiders, these players can know where the money is. They know who might want to get them. I'm sure there's teams, probably not for, kind of edging in. That way they don't get in trouble with that. I forgot what that thing is called, what that term is called. What that is called, but is it tampering? Yes, tampering. I was like thinking NBA because I remember Giannis made a joke about that to LeBron, about Anthony Davis. But, what's it called? But to continue it, they're not dumb. And if you look at Dak's contract specifically, he has clauses. He has a no trade clause, no franchise tag, and like that's it. They can't trade him and they can't franchise tag him. So either Jerry has two options: pay him or let him walk out the door. So I mean, he played the chess match with Jerry Jones, and it was Jerry Jones' move for the last 4 years. It was his move to figure out what they want to do. Now it's an in-the-middle situation. It's, well, you don't win in the playoffs, but this and this. I'm like, dude, or you're a great Dallas Cowboy. He's represented the star great for these past 8 years, but you don't win in the playoffs. Jerry, we don't have a quarterback after this. He is going to set us up to not have a quarterback. Like, I don't know. Like, I highly doubt Dak would be like, you know what, I'm just going to tank the season because, I mean, that would just ruin his chances of getting that contract he wants. I think he's smarter than that, and I think the agent is smarter than that. But, like I said, who are we going to get? Are we going to go with Trey Lance? I don't know. I saw videos of him throwing the ball and going up against the defense. It was kind of terrifying me because some of it was straight to the defense. He threw interceptions straight at him. So that doesn't give me any hope. There's not a lot of good free agent quarterbacks that are going to be out there because a lot of them have already been signed. Unless we want to go with cats that are second or third stringers. So the next option is let's go to the draft. If we get picked 21, who's going to be realistically available? 3 teams, maybe 4 that I know that are probably going to be quarterback needy coming up after this offseason or this next year. Probably the Titans if Will Levis doesn't do well. The Raiders for sure. Probably Seattle if Geno Smith doesn't do well. And maybe the Steelers if Russell Wilson nor Justin Fields works out. So that's already 4 teams right there. And then top 4 projected quarterbacks. Carson Beck, Shadur, Quentin Ewers, and Milroe from Alabama. That's already 4 right there taken up. Who would be next? Like, that's my deal. So I guess I ended up going back on this tangent here about keeping Dak. But like I said, that was my problem with the whole thing. And like I said, they're just airing out dirty laundry at this point to see who's going to crack. I mean, Jerry Jones brought it to told the media in front of everyone in Oxnard. Ha! Can't get me anymore on that one. At Oxnard, and Dak literally told him, I mean, there have been really good quarterbacks. There have been some of the greats that have left and been successful. He's literally calling his bluff. Like, Dak is calling his bluff right now. He's calling Jerry Jones' bluff and saying, all right, cool. I dare you to let me walk out the door and see if you can find someone that can replace him. Now, can we realistically do it? Yes. Will free agency or trade? It's going to cost a lot. Can we go to the draft? Maybe. But we have to be pretty low on a pick to probably get someone that's going to be helpful right off the bat. So, or is Trey Lance going to be the answer? That's a lot of question marks and way too many for me to say, to be too comfortable with, There's a lot of question marks revolving around life after Dak. So I just want to put that out there for anybody not Cowboy fan or Dallas Cowboy fan. That is the thing. Dak is calling Jerry's bluff, and it ain't a pretty war right now. And we'll just have to see what happens. Which doesn't even include CeeDee Lamb's still not at the Star. Nobody's anywhere. He is nowhere to be found for the Cowboys organization. Another problem, but that's a different one to make. Different fight. I'm waiting, man. One of them gets signed, please, so we can just tackle another problem. Like, come on, guys. It's just frustrating, man. Very, very frustrating. But I'm going to talk about something else that's good. Let's talk about some good news, though. So, Tyler Guyton, sticking with Cowboys talk, rookie tight end tackle that we drafted from Oklahoma is actually showing a lot of promise, believe it or not. So, in Oxnard, California right now, Tyler's there, and there are clips of him going up against Micah Parsons and holding his own really well. And that actually gives me a lot of hope, because if they would have said, like, he's doing good against some of the second stringers, I'm like, no, put him up against Micah. If he can't decently block Micah Parsons, we're going to have a problem. But he's holding his own, Tyler Guyton. So that gives me a lot of hope on the old line. I believe Hoffman is been taking first team reps over Cooper, but he's looking pretty good. Terrence Steele is actually, he's doing pretty well in his recovery. I remember he tore his ACL 2 years ago, and then he re-injured it last year, and now he's kind of back to full strength. So the line's looking good. Zach Martin's just a beast. Tyler Smith is there. I mean, the O-line is getting beefed up. So that's pretty exciting. But like I said, we're going to move back to the rookie. Like, that was everyone's kind of like their scare is, well, how is this rookie going to do, Tyler Guyton? And like I said, he's going up against Micah in practice. One of the best edge rushers in the league, obviously, you know. You can argue definitely top 5 or top 3 pass rushers, you know, behind probably Nick Bosa and TJ. You guys get the gist of it. So, and I'm a big believer in this. I've believed in this since I was since I was young. Even as a coach, I tell my my athletes, a best way to get better is to go up against probably the best player in the sport, because eventually you're going to learn to get better. You know what I mean? It's kind of the same way when you work out and you want to bench 155. What do you got to do? I mean, obviously work small, which is what they did with Tyler. Worked him with the first and second stringers, and then they kind of worked him up, or third and second stringers and the rookies, and then they moved up to kind of there. Same thing with lifting weights. You start, kind of like get your strength up, get your confidence up, and then, let's start tackling the big dogs. Same thing with what I tell my athletes is that if you want to get better, a quick way to do it, a really good way to do it is practice with somebody that's way above your skill level. Because at some point, you're going to figure out a way to either beat them or you're going to level up your game. One of the two is going to happen. And right now, with Tyler going up against Micah Parsons, I mean, who else is better to go up against him besides maybe DeMarcus Lawrence? Which even then, DeMarcus Lawrence is not on the level of Micah, but those two are the top 2 rushers on the team. And if Tyler's holding his own against the best one, that's very exciting to hear, man. Like, that's awesome. Like, that's so great for his, kind of being a rookie and starting off. Now, granted, I mean, Terrence Steele and Zach Martin are there. I mean, both of them are veterans. Zach Martin has more freaking Pro Bowls than he does penalties. So, and then Tyler Smith, who's played the position for Tyron Smith, helping him out there. Another younger guy being on that left side of the ball, on the left side of the line. I mean, those two guys are probably going to be not the leaders, but they're definitely going to be, big points in that offense, and especially since the whole running back situation. I mean, it's going to look good. I've seen videos of kind of their practice with the run game, and it's been looking pretty well. Like, that line looks pretty strong. It looks like even with the departure of, Tyron Smith going to the Jets, which who knows how that will go considering he's injury prone, but whatever, still one of the best left tackles in the game. But I mean, like I said, Tyler has I think he's filled in the role quite well. He's fitting into that offense. And like I said, I mean, you're guarding Micah, and Micah is struggling to get by you. That is a giant sign, and that's a great sign of things to come for this offensive line. Like I said, it was a little bit questionable because, like I said, our center left, Tyron Smith left. It was real. Tyler Biana's that's who it was. Tyler Biana's the center left. Tyron Smith left, and we had to fill in our gaps. So if Hoffman's looking good and Cooper is kind of being on the sideline, looking good, getting ready to go in case he ever has to get called in, and Tyler Guyton's looking good, I'm not too scared for this offensive line then, because like I said, if you're going up against one of the best pass rushers in the league and you are just bodying him, I mean, I'm not tripping. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not going to be too worried about the offensive line from there on out. But it's definitely one of those we'll have to see once the preseason starts and kind of go from there. Obviously, the preseason has begun. They had the Hall of Fame game last night as of this recording, Thursday night, and then it ended really bad, which I'm going to talk about the new kickoff thing here in a little bit. But yeah, I just wanted to touch on that a little bit more of a positive note. Despite all this, freaking contract brouhaha of everything, like, that's just kind of been the little bit of the lighter side of Cowboys talk. Tyler Guyton looking good, holding his own against one of the best rushers in the league. I'll take it. I'll freaking take it. Alrighty, next up, now we're back to the sadness. So, if you guys have not been seeing, this has actually been pretty crazy news. This has been one of the craziest things that people have been talking about with training camp is that there has not been a lot of people. If you guys have seen the videos on Twitter and the pictures, there is not anybody in Oxnard, California right now. And there's a lot of reasons why, and there's a lot of people speculating why, and there's a lot of question marks on it. Here's what I think. I think because of the disappointing offseason that has happened and still happening, technically, I think that's what's not pushing away Dallas Cowboys. I wouldn't say, or not, actually, I would say that pushing away the Dallas Cowboys fans, instead of, discouraging them from coming, it's kind of pushing them away. Hear me out. It's been, if you're a Cowboys fan like me, it's been a roller coaster of motions and all this stuff, happening. So you can admit that, like, it's tough. It is tough being a Cowboys fan. Like I said, because you have to see the Eagles go to the Super Bowl more recently than you. The 49ers keep going with Kyle Shanahan, and other teams like the Rams made it, the Bengals made it before you, and even the Chiefs, who didn't win a Super Bowl for like 60 years, won a Super Bowl in 2019. So it's very hard. Like, I'll be honest. Like, it's hard. Being that fan. Getting your heart broken. Like I said, the 49ers is the biggest one that comes to mind, because how many times did we play the 49ers in the freaking playoffs, and then Green Bay destroying our hearts once again, and Aaron Rodgers wasn't even there. So yeah, it's been tough. And then you hear your owner say, we're going all in this year, like we're gonna do our best to win the Super Bowl, and the biggest splash in free agency that we've done is brought in Eric Kendricks and Zeke back. That's very disappointing, So it's very disappointing. It's very frustrating if you're a Dallas Cowboys fan kind of going through that. Now, if I was somebody that lived in California, yeah, I wouldn't disagree. I wouldn't go either. I honestly would not be going to... I wouldn't be going as religiously, I guess. I can't really say that. I'm going to be real honest with you. I would still go. I'd go to Oxnard. If I lived over there and I heard and my team's the Cowboys and they're there, yeah, I'm going to go, I would go. It just means I got better seats, you know what I'm saying? But if I was any other Cowboys fan not going and saying, I'm frustrated, I'm literally going to training camp and CeeDee Lamb's not even there, Dak is literally at war with Jerry. You can cut the tension with a knife right now. Yeah, if I was in their shoes, I would understand. It's very frustrating because when you have like I said, an owner that says we're going to be all in, and we're not. We haven't been. Like I said, only 2 names have been brought back. 3 if you want to count Royce Freeman, and all our rookie draft picks or second-year picks that are coming right back in, and maybe Trayvon Diggs. That is a little frustrating. So with them not going, I think it's supposed to get Jerry's attention. Like I said, Jerry Jones loves the spotlight. He loves to be in the center of attention with, Cowboys Nation and the NFL and everything. But, I apologize about that. Sorry. And with nobody going, it's going to get his attention. Like, what's the best way to get somebody's attention? You hurt their wallets. I don't know if it's free or not to go to Oxnard and watch the training camp. I want to say it probably isn't, knowing them, but I don't know. I have no idea. I haven't been there. I've always wanted to go to training camp, but I've never ever got the opportunity to go. Like I said, if it was me, I would still go. I don't think I would care, losing or not. I would still like to go see the players and practice and all that, but if I was somebody else and they told me I'm not going, I'm tired of management, basically suckering us every year, we lose, we don't know who to blame, Jerry Jones looks upset and mad, he's trying to kick Dak out, he won't bring in CeeDee Lamb, he said we're all in, he didn't bring any, I can understand the frustration there, and it's probably like a way to get Jerry's attention and say, hey, we're not going to training camp, we're not going to fill up your pockets, we're not going to do any of that. So you can either figure it out as a businessman. Now, I do believe once they bring it back CeeDee Lamb and he starts coming to the training camp, which they finally give him a freaking contract. I keep seeing all over Twitter, man, every time. Oh, we're getting closer and closer. Stephen Jones, we're making progress in both Dak and CeeDee's contract. Dude, Stephen, I don't care if you're making progress. That progress and we have a contract ready to go. He signed it. He's coming to Oxnard. That's something different. So I do think that with the Dallas Cowboys fans not showing up to training camp is definitely going to get the attention of Jerry Jones. Like I said, it may or may not, but it's not a bad way to look at it. Because like I said, how do you get somebody's attention? You start messing with their wallets. Let's be frank. If you start I use this analogy with some people. If obviously, yeah, I can complain to whoever all I want. They can either take into consideration or don't. It's kind of like up between them and whatever. But if I start pulling your money out of your pocket, I'll get your attention real fast. You know what I'm saying? Like if, let's say for example, like you're complaining about all this, like, oh, like we don't have state of the art stuff to for the restaurant, yada yada yada. We don't have a proper. I'm using a restaurant as example. POS system, this and that. The owner's probably gonna say, I mean, I'll try. But then their sales go down. They're losing money. Guess what? That owner will come in and say, "Hey, what's the problem? What do you need fixed?" I bet you any money that will happen. Now, obviously, the Dallas Cowboys and a restaurant are two different entities of its own. But you guys kind of get the point I'm making here. I think that Jerry Jones will see that how many people are not going to be there is going to definitely affect him, and that may persuade him a little bit more of, okay, well, we need to get the fans in here, because if they're not coming to training camp, and they always come to training camp, because remember, every year, Oxnard is always full. Those stands are filled. Like, I know, I've heard stories of people getting there super, super, super early in the morning so they can get a good spot, or they can be right there to meet the players so they can get their autographs. One day, my friend. One day. And Caitlin Clark is down. But in any case, so that is my biggest thing. Sorry, I'm going to fix this really fast, see if I can. My Caitlin Clark card. And boom, fixed. Aha, got it. So, and like I said, it's very hard to kind of be, like I said, that fan and be there and be frustrated with what's going on, this offseason, what has happened this offseason. It is very hard. It's very hard to root for a team like that. That's just, we're struggling to figure out why we're not winning the Super Bowl, and we have stuff like this happening. We're not paying players that deserve it. We're not going all in like we said we are. So I can understand from that perspective from a Cowboys fan, hey, I'm not going, So I do understand that. So I don't hate people, Cowboys fans, for thinking like that. Trust me, I get it. Like, I've been frustrated ever since this podcast kind of kicked right back off after me being gone for a while. It makes a whole lot of sense. I was very frustrated too. You can only believe, my significant other, and, she heard me rant about the Cowboys. My best friends heard me rant about the Cowboys. Some of my coworkers have heard me rant about the Cowboys. Even some of my students, I feel bad for my students because they just hear me rant. I think one time I did, when they got eliminated from the playoffs, I gave them 2 minutes to make fun of me. So that was that was so depressing. But in any case, so I do think that this will get the attention of Jerry Jones, because he's going to see that, hey, like, where's all these people at? Because, like I said, I've never been there, but I know they set it up. They have stuff there. They have, what's it called? They have the training camp shop, so they sell the merchandise from the stores there. So once that money starts kind of losing, I mean, Jerry Jones is going to sit there and say, hey, like, what's the problem? Why are we losing money? So he's a businessman at heart, so let's keep that in mind, folks. So you'll definitely get his attention if you start pulling money out of his pocket. That family will you'll get their attention pretty fast. So, like I said, it's very crazy just because it's always filled in the training camp. Even at, I think, like 2 years ago, I attended like Cowboys night at the Star when I was still living in that area. It was packed. There was so many people there. Like, when I arrived there, I was like, oh, I'll get there like 30, 40 minutes early because I know it's going to be tough to park there. Nope, there was still already a giant herd of people everywhere. People had merch. Luckily, it was a free event. They had merch, they had giveaway stuff. So, I mean, it looked like a real fun thing, and then they had concession open at the Star. So, you name it, they had it, but kind of seeing that nobody's going to Oxnard, that's a very concerning look. And like I said, I'm not going to discredit Cowboys fans for not going and saying, you're not a true Cowboys fan. No. I get it. Trust me, I get it. If you are frustrated and you're like, I'm not going to that, I don't blame you. Like I said, I'm a little bit different. I would probably go because I've never got to experience training camp, so I'd probably still go if I lived in the area. But as of right now, I understand if people don't want to go and, basically waste their money on going. I wouldn't say really a waste, because I mean, if you have kids and they get autographs, you get pictures with the players, not really a waste of money. But I can understand you're like, I'm not going there. If I'm frustrated with my team, I'm very frustrated with the team, and I'm very gung ho about not being there. So I don't really fault anybody for that one. So hopefully, CeeDee Lamb can come back and things can get kind of back on track and just see what happens. I'm telling y'all, I'm going to record an episode one day and still say he's not there, and then literally the next day, CeeDee Lamb gets signed. I'm waiting for that at this point because it's kind of getting frustrating, kind of still being here without him having a contract or even Dak. So I can understand where the frustration from other Cowboys fans are coming from. Alrighty, that's enough about Cowboy talk. We've hit the low, the high, and the low. Let's move on over to around the NFL. There's a lot of things going on right now. We're going to do, obviously, towards the end, 3 things. Yeah, I think you'll like this team a little bit more, but let's talk about this. So, obviously, the preseason has started. The Hall of Fame game was, as of this recording, Thursday night, so I'm recording it on Friday, so it happened yesterday. So, as of this recording, yesterday was the Hall of Fame game. It was between the Bears and the Texans. And I wasn't able to watch it completely. I was only able to see some of the highlights. I did say David Mills break a defensive end's ankles. That was pretty hilarious. But one of the bigger stories about that whole thing was the new kickoff. I apologize about that. The new kickoff deal. Now, I like it. I'm gonna be real frank. I like the new kicking system. I'm a big fan of it. I really do. I really like the kicking situation. So here's why I like it. I'm a big believer in this. I've played football for a long time. I've played football and I've watched football. I've been around football for such a long time, right? I know the crucialness of special teams. Even though some people will say, I mean, why do we even have it? They kick the ball 9 times out of 10, they don't return it. But what happens when you're in that close game situation? You know, you just scored. You're up by 3. Minute and a half, kick them, or, they got 30 seconds to get downfield. Do we squib kick it to kill the clock? What do we do? Onside is another big one. What's it called? Field goal unit. Like, special teams, in my opinion, does make the difference in a game. Not as, if not below, but almost as much as an offense and a defense do. Because let's keep in mind this. Sometimes it comes down to special team play. We've seen teams block field goals. That's special teams. That's defense, yes, but that's mainly the special teams unit. Onside kicks are the special teams unit. Kickoff, return. We all know it. So, but now with the new rule, right? And I don't know, and it limits the risk of injury, which is another reason why I like it. So, if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see it, but if you are not, I'll describe it the best I can. So, both opposing teams line up against each other. So my arms are out, facing each other right here. The kicker kicks it off. The kickoff team cannot go until the returner, I believe, gets the ball. So once he gets it, they can go and block each other. They're only about 10 yards apart from each other. So the only one that's far back is the kicker and the kick returner. So what I do like about it is, like I said, it limits injury and it brings the importance of the special teams back into the NFL. Because like I said, everyone would just kick the scrubs out of it and set them at the 25, which, yes, in theory, sometimes that's good, But like I said, there are other times where it's like, that kickoff, that returner might be the one returner. It's 5 yards deep and they're like, we got to score and I got to get downfield, and they break one free. Sometimes it ends up being that decision maker. So, like I said, because I know at one point in time there was debate on taking away the kickoff and kickoff return and just starting teams at the 25 after they score a touchdown. But like I said, I mean, the crucialness of special teams, I mean, it makes or break an NFL game. I mean, let's be frank. So, one muff punt can change the entire course of the game. A muffed kickoff, a fumble recovery from the kickoff team. All that stuff is very crucial. And onside recovery, you wouldn't have the Pat McAfees of the world, onside kicking to himself, essentially faking out the entire kickoff return, and boom. You wouldn't have players like that or highlights like that, or even like CeeDee Lamb in 2020 when they onside kicked it to him and he ran it from there. And he ran it in for a touchdown. Like, you won't ever see that without the crucialness of special teams. So now with this new rule, and I know a lot of it was they didn't like, how injured you can get on kickoff, because you have in the original kickoff format, the kicking team just runs and goes, and then it's the return team, and you have these guys running at you 100 miles an hour, and you got to brace for impact. I've been on kickoff and kickoff return whenever I played back in the day. And it did suck when you got blown up by the big guy, or you had to go run, or you had to get ready to block a big guy. So it was, I can understand, like, limiting injury of a player, and that's a good way to do it. I believe they got it from the UFL. I know the XFL did it when they first came back with the Dwayne Johnson getting it, having control. That was the new way of doing it, and I guess it made an impression on the NFL. And it just, like I said, it brings the importance back of special teams. That's the main reason why I like it. You're gonna have, return specialists. I think that's also going to start the rise of the return of the return specialists. Like Kavontae Turpin is a good one. That's the main reason he got on the Cowboys, is because he returned a kickoff and a punt return for TDs in a game. So obviously he had his spot solidified. So and then there's other players that have made their mark on that. Tavon Austin was another one. I believe Tyreek Hill started out as a return man, and he ended up moving to being one of the best receivers in the game. Dez Bryant is another one. As a rookie, they put him at punt return and ended up dominating. So there's a lot of good players that started on special teams. So crucially keeping the integrity of that is definitely great. I think the NFL made a good decision on that, and I'm very excited. I want to see what ends up happening and seeing, how crucial that special teams play is going to work out for both of them. Because keep in mind, they're still right there. The defenses still can wall them off. I'm sure NFL coaches have figured out a way to stop the return. So it's not out of the question. It's not just a guarantee. You're always going to get kickoff returns for touchdowns. So let's not blow that out of proportion. But I'm excited to kind of see how this is going to go and evolve the NFL, and I'm really excited to see how it's all going to work and see how different the game's going to be now, because now you have to plan differently. So very excited to see what's going to become of that. Alrighty, next up, I told you we talk about the Steelers and Justin Fields. So this was pretty funny. So I saw this topic come up about Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. Obviously, if you guys haven't seen the videos at training camp with Justin Fields, he's been having a lot of success. He's been doing really great. That has fallen off of my pocket. Give me 30 seconds. Sorry about that, everybody. What? Okay, sorry. Let's go. No CeeDee Lamb news. Story of my life. Now, back to Justin Fields. He's been looking really good. There's been apparently a giant difference being with the Steelers than when he was with Chicago. There was that whole little fight skirmish. I think somebody got a late hit on him. I think it's Patrick Queen. I believe so. Yeah, I think it was Patrick Queen. It was somebody on the defense that laid a cheap shot on Justin Fields, and the whole offense it was just a fight. And I think that's the biggest difference right now with Pittsburgh than it was in Chicago, because you can just tell night and day how he's being treated. Because I think in Chicago, they kept saying that they believed in Justin Fields. There was only so much they did. They beefed up the defense, but really didn't do much to beef up the offense aside of bringing in DJ Moore. They didn't really make that much improvements on the line, and they brought him in a decent running back to help out. But other than that, the O-line was horrible. And then, they kind of shipped them off and brought in Caleb Williams, but they got Keenan Allen for Caleb Williams, and I believe they drafted linemen to help block. So you can definitely tell where he stood on the totem pole in that organization, and now he's over there in Pittsburgh. Now, the biggest question here is, what's going to happen? Is he going to start? I don't think so. I still don't believe Justin Fields is going to start. With Russell Wilson being there, being a longtime veteran, obviously Russell Wilson's going to get the start. Right now, he is not participating in practice because he did get hurt. He should be ready to go at some point in the preseason, or he's going to be ready, or they're going to save him for week 1. More than likely, they're going to save him for week 1, so he doesn't get hurt in practice or in the preseason. Now, do I think that Justin Fields will never play? That is something different. I do think Justin Fields will get his chance this season, which I guess next week we'll do 3 things with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think that'll be a little bit of a cooler idea. But in any case, I do think that Justin Fields is going to play. I do think that he will have his opportunity to revive his career and hopefully call Pittsburgh his home. Because I don't think that he's a bad quarterback. I think he has a lot of potential. He's very athletic. Obviously, he had a lot of success at OSU. There has, from the Steeler Nation, kind of just seeing stuff on Twitter and what people are saying, he's looking good. He's looking like old Justin Fields at Ohio State. I was going to say Oklahoma. Ohio State. So there is a lot of kind of praise with him right now, and there is a lot of hopefulness with him. So what does that mean for Russ? Now, Russ has already had, I mean, he still had a Hall of Fame career. No matter the burnout in Denver, you still can't take away 2 Super Bowl appearances, a Super Bowl win, a dominating Super Bowl win, mind you, when he was, I think, a second year in the NFL. I think when he was a rookie, when he was a rookie quarterback, he got, like, to the NFC Championship, or I know he made the playoffs and he won the division. So, and he was part of a dominant Seattle team. So, let's keep that in mind. So he's still, he broke records. He was still considered one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL at one point in time. I think he almost won MVP one year. So he's made All Pro. He's been a Pro Bowler. So he has proven to be a pretty good quarterback. Now, the last few years have been total disasters. I will admit that. His final season in Seattle didn't go great. His first year in Denver didn't go great, and his last year in Denver didn't go great. So being in Pittsburgh, obviously they brought in Justin Fields. The main reason why is in case Russell Wilson does not do good, because Pittsburgh, minding their quarterback madness since Ben Roethlisberger, have, surprisingly made the playoffs and have had winning seasons. I think that's just on the tail of Coach Tomlin. Like, he's literally I think the main reason why they're still staying afloat, because he's a really good coach. Heck of a coach, mind you. So that, I believe, is kind of like what it is right now. Now, I do think Russ is going to get the start. Like I said, he's a veteran. He's been around for so long. They wanted Russ to come in, and they also want him to help develop Justin Fields. I think that Russell Wilson is aware of that, and that's why I believe that he is not, treating this as like they're just bringing me here to train the new guy. He's going about it pretty well, I think, right now. I know in the beginning it was a little bit like, what the heck, and we're all like really confused and wondering why the Steelers brought in Justin Fields. But I mean, Russell Wilson's not a bad person to learn under. Like I said, he was a former All-Pro, Pro Bowl, Super Bowl winner, 2 Super Bowl appearances with Seattle. I think he has like multiple records with Seattle. So he's not a bad person to learn under. And I know that's why Pittsburgh brought Russell Wilson in and Justin Fields, so that way Justin Fields can learn, and hopefully Russell Wilson can revive his career in Pittsburgh. So we'll have to see how all that works out. But right now, I still don't think Justin Fields is not going to play or start, at least, unless they really have a true QB battle for starter at week 1. But the only reason I'm going to think that's going to be possible is if in the preseason, Justin Fields does go up against defense units, so obviously team 1s, and he has a lot of success against them, then I think, maybe it'll be up in the air for that debate. But I still think he's going to play this year. And I don't think a kick return, no matter what Madden said, I don't think he's going to be a kick returner, but I do believe he's going to play. They may have a couple packages for him, read option package, QB draw, whatever, because he can still run the ball. Let's keep that in mind. He's still super athletic, so I still think he will play. Will he be starting quarterback? No, but do I think he will end up being a starter? I do believe so. I think at some point this season, if Russ doesn't do super well, they are going to go to Justin Fields and kind of just see where he stands and where they stand on his development. So, like I said, this is kind of something that's one of the top stories, I believe, in the NFL right now, that a lot of people are not really overshadowing, but it's going to be definitely something that is, like I said, going to be very heavily talked about. So we'll see what happens with all that. All right, so last thing for Around the NFL, we're heading to this segment. 3 things I want to see. We're talking about the Northerners, the NFC North. We're heading to the Minnesota Vikings just because there's a lot of things going on right now with them. So 3 things I want to see from the Minnesota Vikings. Number one, I want to see how big of an impact Aaron Jones is going to make on that team. So obviously, I think that one of their weakest points last year, besides not having a quarterback, was kind of the running back. They brought in Aaron Jones from the Packers after the Packers released him and got Josh Jacobs. So obviously, Aaron Jones is going to be on the revenge tour. You know what I'm saying? So he is going to be out for blood against his old team. Now, here's what I mean by they're going to rely on him a lot. There is a lot of question marks at quarterback right now. So they're going to rely on the run game. Coach O'Connell's probably going to have to figure that out. But obviously, I do believe he's going to be really, really relied on just because they're trying to figure out quarterback right now. So Aaron Jones is going to be very heavily used. Probably not just as a running back, probably as a receiving back too, run screens or block, whatever it may be, but I think he's going to be relied on more with the Minnesota Vikings than he probably was with the Green Bay Packers. Because let's keep in mind, when he was in Green Bay, he had Aaron Rodgers, so he didn't necessarily have to be, that difference maker. He was a difference maker against the Dallas Cowboys multiple times, but, it was still the Aaron Rodgers show. And now with Jordan Love taking over, now they're kind of giving the reins to Jordan Love, so let's keep that in mind. Now, him moving to Minnesota and kind of going from there, he's going to be heavily relied on, so I think that he's going to step up to the challenge. He always has. He's a UTEP guy. I know they haven't had a lot of luck this year, the past few years, but Aaron Jones has shown that great things come out of that UTEP school. So let's see what happens. But I think that they are going to rely heavily, heavily, heavily on Aaron Jones this upcoming season. Second thing I want to see them make a full decision at quarterback. Now, I do know that they are going to roll with Sam Darnold, but there also have been reports about J.J. McCarthy possibly starting around week 6. There is going to be a lot of things with that right now. Obviously, I wasn't a big fan of the Sam Darnold signing. I think it was a good idea to have a veteran in there, have him kind of help out J.J. McCarthy, but it's still if they're not fully committed to Sam Darnold, they're literally just waiting for J.J. McCarthy to fully develop so they can throw him in. It's just hopefully they decide on a quarterback. But not only that, I want to see how big of a step back it's going to be. Kirk Cousins, for how much stuff I talk about him, you got to give him his flowers. He was, when he was with Minnesota, he was a pretty good quarterback. He was a decent quarterback, got him into the playoffs, and obviously when Kirk tore his Achilles, it was a giant disaster for Minnesota because they had to go with so many different quarterbacks without Kirk Cousins, and they were shy out of it. So they were one of the teams of, if Kirk Cousins never got hurt, they would have been right there with the Lions to win the division. So we're going to have to see how big of a regression it's going to be with the quarterback play. Lastly, the last thing I want to see from the Minnesota Vikings to see if they can beat expectations. I think that right now a lot of people are kind of counting out the Vikings, especially since they're in a tough division. Like I said, Jordan Love kind of showing Green Bay that's their guy. Detroit getting incredibly good. And Detroit, Minnesota, Green Bay, and the Bears. Bears. And the Bears adding Caleb Williams with the number 1 pick. They added more weapons and a better offensive line. They have a decent defense. So the Vikings have a lot cut out for them. But it's not that I think that they will replicate the same success. I just hope it's not a giant drop off. Like I said, it kind of ties into the second thing I want to see is not a big how big of a drop off is going to be. But hopefully the Minnesota Vikings. Coach O'Connell's a very good coach. He's very intelligent. He's not going to allow that team to fall that low, and he'll make adjustments as needed. But I do want to see how big of a regression it's going to be overall as a team. I think defensively, if they can figure it out, they'll be fine. And they still have a lot of offensive weapons like Jordan Addison. Well, I don't know about Jordan Addison, but Justin Jefferson for sure. Aaron Jones. So offensively, they can make it work. With either Sam Darnold or J.J. McCarthy. But and they're just gonna have to figure it out from there. But hopefully, it's not that big of a regression. I don't think they're gonna have a failing season. Not only 2 wins, but I don't see them winning the division. But I do want to see if they can at least try to keep up with a heavily stacked NFC North division. But alrighty, guys, that's going to wrap things up on this episode of the Cowboys Fan vs. the World podcast. Make sure you guys follow me on all of my social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, at Cowboys Fan vs. the World, along with also subscribe to my YouTube channel. Same thing, and later this week, the episode will be up on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and Amazon Music. Hey, we're almost there to football, everybody. We're almost there. Preseason. I know not a lot of people enjoy the preseason. I like to watch it because, rookies and stuff. I give my 2 cents on everything. But very exciting. Football's almost here, everybody. We're almost there. We're less than a month away. College football is coming up pretty soon in 3 weeks. I know College Football 25 has been occupying everybody. Trust me, I've been trying to play 2K with somebody, and it takes forever. But waiting to get College Football 25. Hopefully I'll get that pretty soon. But I know we're all itching. We're all waiting for the season to begin. I'm super, super excited to wait for the season to come. Hopefully you see CeeDee Lamb and Dak at the helm, but we'll have to see what happens and what's coming up with that. But hey, college football around the corner, NFL football, it's a great day for all this to happen. So hopefully it gets here quickly and we won't have to wait too long. But other than that, I'll see you guys in the next episode.